All right, so we have essentially one new item on today's agenda with two parts. First of all, the IBC milestone 5 is done, but it needs a validator to sign off on it. So Guillaume, do you want to take a second to explain to everybody what that is? And we could probably quickly assign somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a fairly straightforward one to validate. Milestone number 5 is essentially the monitoring tools and alert mechanism for IBC wrap token transfers. So essentially, the solution, based on the feedback that we gathered from discussions with node operators, with people in this group here, and others, we came up with a solution that represents that solves that milestone in a very simple way. We have an API that allows for, over any given time period, an aggregate calculation of all the numbers, all of the interesting statistics about wrap token transfers. So that's up and running. That's been it's been there for probably like close to a month now. It is available at I believe it's ibc-logs.EOS-network.io. I'm gonna just post that in the chat here for those that are interested. And that essentially has it's a very like plain looking summary of all of the tokens that are in flux between all the chains. This will be updated, of course, once we have WAX activated to also show the numbers for WAX. And it has also a REST API that can be queried by just about like any script or any application, where we can also verify for a specific range what these numbers are. And on top of that, we built also a Telegram bot that will alert whoever is in the same group or channel if there's any discrepancy with the accounting. That's the Telegram bot number 2. And if there's any technical issues, for example, if the infrastructure, the API servers are not available or something, that's our, I guess, like bot number 2. So any representative of the chain is can be added to these Telegram groups. They are probably meant more for a first responder type of I guess role. So I'll share this with the heads of the chains, and they can decide who is going to be assigned to both of these groups. And essentially from there, they get the first notification if something is wrong, and then we can have their own internal processes to dispatch that to whoever is going to be responding or needs to take action. So that kind of solves that is basically what the milestone was all about. When it comes to reviewing it, I think it's quite easy and objective, so I don't foresee much difficulty there. It's just for someone to basically take a look at these things, maybe compare the accounting on blocks.io or the other block explorer for two chains, and compare that I guess like the data matches over a specific period of time. And then we also have a kind of like a test, like a like fire drill type of a feature in there, so we can generate notifications these Telegram channels to illustrate if there's a problem or anything like that. Behaves the same way that the real thing. So it's just a matter for someone that's going to be determined, like that, it's going to be assigned by the coalition to perform these tasks. I think it's less than an hour, like probably like 30 minutes to explain everything and to do a thorough verification. So as far as I'm concerned, pretty much anyone that can read a block explorer and do some basic math is qualified. That means a lot of people. So up to the coalition to designate someone. But like I said, it doesn't require any technical background or anything special other than being able to read a block explorer and use a calculator.
I do have a question, Guillaume. I'm looking at that website now. the logs themselves. Two questions. One is, outside of this log website, is there documentation on how to read the data that is being presented? For example, just a very quick kind of either on the Git book or in the docs.
So this is a summary of the I guess like the like what should like the aggregate data that we're collecting. All of this is essentially available on GitHub with the appropriate documentation, as well as there's an API documentation at the bottom of that page. You have API, open API documentation. So for anyone that's looking to use the API to fetch that data, you have all of that documentation there. So I'm going to also share here.
But there's no summary of how to read the data. The reason why I'm asking is I'm looking at, for example, transfer success ratios, and I look at source chain TELOS, destination chain EOS, retire EOS 57.6%, and source chain TELOS to UX lock 50%. I don't even know does that mean that half of the transactions are not successful?
Well, I mean,
I'm not even sure how to read this data is the question, and that's why I was wondering if there was not a manual, but something like an index or legend of here's how you should read this data.
I'm happy to provide more. Let me round up what we have so far. I'll submit that to the coalition, and then you can judge if there's more needed. But we have also what's on GitHub right now, and if anything is not clear, we'll be happy to clarify as well.
That would be. I'm guessing this is not an end user product anyway. So who's going to be writing this? I think it's somewhat irrelevant. But if we're going to have people monitor this to figure out whether or not there are issues, I think it would be wise to at least have some type of documentation around it.
Right. I mean, the issues will appear at the top in big bright red if there's any.
Okay. But like
anything else?
So it's not an issue that there's only 50% success rate, or am I reading it wrong and it has nothing to do with success rate?
Well, it's a success rate means a transaction that was completed. So meaning that someone locked some tokens on a source chain and proved that on the destination chain, but it can always, for many reasons, probably a very high number of these quote unquote failed transactions or actually test transactions that we made at the beginning that we never completed. And, like these are not problematic in the sense that if someone, for example, made the first leg of that transfer but didn't complete it, it doesn't mean that the funds are lost, doesn't mean that they cannot do it at a later stage. We have a retry UI that can be used to do that. And it's not a sign of a problem whatsoever. It just means that the transaction was started and did not complete. And at that point, it's on the user. I mean, like they decide if they want to complete it or not. I assume, can take a look, but for the most part, these are like very, very small amounts that people are just doing tests with, and they're just setting like a 0.00 and yes, just to see if it works. And maybe they forgot that they didn't have resources or an account, or they had an account but they didn't have the resources on the other chain, and then like they will just I'll try it later. So I mean, maybe the word successful is a bit too too strong of a word. Maybe it's just completed would be better. Would present like
I can envision how this at some point by each chain would be something that we'd want to showcase. I mean, from the Antelope point of view, now these numbers are dinky and there's very little count. But at some point, as we start getting transactions between networks, these will go up. I would imagine that Antelope would want to market this as a look. Antelope is being the IBC is being used. This is a showcase of the transaction counts and essentially the quantitative and qualitative, in a way, success of this particular function. So I guess where I'm getting at it, if we could have more on this, that would be great. I don't know if that was in the original scope or if what I'm looking at screen is really just the scope.
Well, I mean, it's good
if we still have leverage because we have an approved milestone 5, and we can get you to do more work on this before we mark it completed.
No, I mean, like
I'm being very candid about what I'm trying to get out of it.
listen, like very happy to add a few more things here as long as we define them. Very
yeah. Not talking. I mean, Titan especially was really, really. I mean, you guys were well. UX is different, but anyways, your group was really great at data visualization. Like if I think of the Titan portal, the UX UI was a huge strength of yours. It would be good if you had those resources to maybe apply some of that to this. I think it could be something as a showcase of Antelope. That'd be great, but I really don't know what that entails.
So let's say like what you're saying is basically style that summary page a little bit,
make it pretty.
And then add people little bubbles where like tooltips where people can see what that means and have an explanation of that. Yeah,
it could even be something that we showcase on the Antelope.io website too. We have a sub tab that says IBC, and it when users read, they know what they're reading, because we I think Wax and us pay for Messari reports, or I guess we commission Messari reports. That could be something as well that's used by Messari. Like, this data, I think, could be used. Is my point?
Yeah.
It's more
and bear in mind, like the work on our end on that milestone has mostly been to build the API. So like, of course,
the actual fetching of the Oh, did you just cut off? Did I cut off?
Where you can, sorry, like I was saying.
Oh, now you're back. You were gone for a while.
I was just saying that the feature here and where the value is the API that allows us not only to get all of these metrics, like since the beginning, but you can track them over time. Like you can specify an AP, like a start time and an end time, and that then get the aggregate only for that particular time window. So we can have like the monthlies, we can have the weeklies, dailies, hourlies, like minute if you want of all of these data pages. So it gets there's a lot more than what you see on that web page. One page is just like the kind of the summary, but the API in the background is actually quite interesting, and with what you can do with it in terms of tracking that information over time. But yeah, I hear you loud and clear. I think we'll slap some lipstick on that thing.
Hey, Shaq.
Exactly. Hey, Shaq.
Sorry, Shaq.
No, when it's all good. This is not very very time consuming, and we'll put in a bit more explanation, like tooltips on various columns and whatnot. It might reside somewhere else. But yeah, we'll make a view of it that looks nice, and same data, but with more cosmetics. And that we're also happy to deploy it to some hosting under the Antelope IO.
Awesome. With that, I guess I don't know if it would require an approval prior to for that milestone to be complete, or if we want to wait till that component is done before we mark that milestone complete. I'm good either way if the commitment from your side is that you'll beautify this, because essentially the milestone is likely done as is, but I think there's an opportunity here at a very low cost on your end to just make this kind of usable, so to speak.
So I mean just so that we're on the same page with regards to the like text of the milestone. Text of the milestone was monitoring and analysis tools. And then it was automated and continuous monitoring of wrap token contracts for any discrepancies, plus advanced alert mechanism to notify, interrupt smart contract operations in case of breach. So all of this is implemented and more, because we have an API, we have like a summary of the data. So I think it would be fair to recognize the milestone as complete.
I'm in with that.
But personally, I'm totally okay with putting together like a nicer visualization for that purpose, which was not necessarily the purpose of that milestone. But now, if we're gonna use this as a marketing or kind of like selling point, I agree it should be beautified, and I'm happy to do that free of charge, separately, and just like I said, like be nice to have the milestone approved, and over the next few weeks or a month or so, we can get that up and running.
I'm good with that. And those were the only questions. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So with that context, we still should pick somebody to go in and validate that the existing milestone is complete. Do we have any nominees for that?
Well, let's ask Yum. Yum, do you know of somebody who's already deep in this data that is a third party that's not in UX that you would recommend? We can just ask.
Not really, no. But like, cause I mean, like, I'd say if you want to nominate someone, I'd suggest NS James, because he's the one originally who asked for that data under an API form, and we essentially like made this kind of, I guess, like API for him at his request. So let's let's have him verify it.
Ted, would that be acceptable to ask NS James to take this on? And I guess other people on this call, would that be acceptable to you as well, if Ted says yes?
I'm fine with it. I'm not sure what their backlog is with all of the EVM stuff right now. He was kind of saying he's saturated, but if we don't mind it queuing, he can do it.
Sorry, I was not, my internet just dropped for a second. Were you saying he's not available?
No, I wasn't saying that. I was giving a very ambiguous answer, actually. I was saying that I think he would be fine to do it. I just can't comment on how saturated his queue is with the EVM at the moment. So like, it depends on the turnaround time. If we're looking for this to be done in the next week, that might be hard. It might also be fine. I just don't know the depth of his queue right now with what's going on with our launch of EVM. I know that it was feeling slammed.
Right.
That may have subsided already. He may be done with what he was doing.
So, I mean, I think like from this is a kind of probably like a 1 hour at most, probably more like half hour thing. So I'd say if NS James as a candidate is okay with you guys, I don't mind waiting to hear back from you, like to see if he's available like within the next, let's say, like 10 or 15 days, and if he can allocate like half an hour to an hour to this, like totally fine with me.
If that's all it is, then I think we can just ask him to do it and prioritize it up. I mean, he'll just insert it in if you think it's only a half hour to an hour.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm okay with doing that. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it. The rest of the people on this call are okay with it, or if there's somebody else that just wants to do it that's on this call.
I'm fine with Nathan doing it. I think he's more than qualified, and I guess to Ted's point, his availability is the only concern.
If it's only an hour to half hour to an hour, he works insane crazy hours anyway. He'll just insert it into the queue. He'll just force it forward. Like, we can probably have it done sometime. He'll either tomorrow, Friday's kind of a little bit of a different day in Israel. He actually lives in Portugal now. He just moved. I don't know if that'll change what he does, but if it's not done probably tomorrow, it'll probably be done early Monday or Tuesday. And I'll start texting him right now.
I'm also comfortable with once we get the green light, we can just make a message in that channel. We don't need to wait till another call before we take a vote. I'm good with taking a vote in the channel and then ratifying it / formalizing in the next call. But that way we don't we're not delaying anything.
Well, so okay. Because I think my interpretation is we don't necessarily need to even have the vote if we are assigning Nathan as the delegate. Like, if he comes back and says,
yeah, and that works,
then we're good to go, and we'll get the payment processing going immediately.
I'm good with that as well, of course, yes. Okay. But I guess we still would want the record so that the others, the other chains also see that Nathan in this example says, yes, I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that we can do it in the channel that we all share, the core channel.
Okay, the second item, about the emergency contact person.
Yeah. So for that part, it's actually quite straightforward. There's 2 Telegram groups that have been created for essentially answering any technical or accounting issues that may be detected with the wrap lock and wrap token contracts. So I what I would suggest is I share these 2 links with the heads of each chain, and then from there they decide in their respective ecosystem who to put on that list. And bear in mind, like, this is not necessarily something we want to keep private. Oops, sorry about that. It's not necessarily something we want to keep private, but it will have implications in terms of if a hack happened, for example, there might be some action to be taken and whatnot that we don't necessarily want everyone to be privy to. So I would recommend exercising caution in terms of who is on these Telegram channels. But it's up to each chain to essentially assign whoever they feel is adequate to respond to this, and then essentially have their own protocols in terms of reaching the appropriate entities or block producers or whatever to respond to that. So there's the 2 channels, or like I said, one that handles discrepancies that have to do with accounting. This one is a real important one, because if that channel should stay mute and never raise any issues at any point, unless there's an actual accounting issue and there's some tokens that have been minted that have not a locked amount of token that matches it. And then like the other channel is a technical alert channel, which is, like, say the endpoints that we're using to monitor this are down or they're out of sync or things of the sort. So they're not necessarily typically it doesn't indicate any sort of problem with the protocol itself, but it might still mean that there's action required to restart or to fix the servers if applicable. So this is how that works, to kind of get the message out, like in terms of any alert that may occur, and then from there, like I said, any chain head can forward that to whoever is expected to take action. Any questions on that? Okay, so in which case, what I'm gonna do, if you guys can still hear me, I hope so. Okay, great. So in that case, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna message everyone, the heads of the chains, with the 2 Telegram links, and then they can add themselves, whoever else they should be in there from their teams, and that's all that's required there.
Sounds good. Awesome. And I guess when you share those links, we'll be able to share as well internally with some people that we'd like on. For example, like if you send to me, I can send to Bart.
Yeah, I think
You just cut off.
I'll make you guys admin, and then you can just. I was saying.
Hey, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it caught up.
All right.
No, I caught up. It fast forwarded chipmunk style.
Okay, excellent. All right.
All right. That's about it. For the status reports, the first 2 are, as a reminder, still waiting for the next release to go out, which we are very close to freeing up and starting it on kind of new things. The P2P Peer Discovery, there is one thing that anybody watching the GitHub repo may have noticed, but the team was trying to commit PRs against the main branch. So we are going to work with the team to get that corrected. Other than that, the progress on that has been going fairly well. I believe, Lucas, your team has definitely been engaging. Has others been engaging on as well?
I did review one of the PRs that was submitted by the Sudan team. I had a few comments there, and I think Lucas was also gonna comment as well.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
All right, excellent. But the schedule seems to be running a little ahead, so it's good news. Assuming there are not major comments that delay the project in this review. We all know how that goes. Any questions about the P2P Peer Discovery? All right, moving on. So we've talked about IBC a bit. Guillaume, is there anything on Instant Finalities you'd like to share today?
Yeah, essentially AREG is still going to be attached to another project for the next 2 weeks, give or take. At this point, we've done the majority of the work that we could basically do without having some of the earlier milestones reviewed and some direction from the engineers. We still do have, however, like PRs that were essentially like ready to submit, or rather one PR and one is more, I guess, like various documents that are also ready for review, which probably would be reviewable by Matt and some other people from the team. So like that would not necessarily be AREG. For AREG, we're taking probably like April 14, I think, is the date at which.
You just bear.
Yeah, you should now be able to. So I was saying, can you guys see me now or?
Yep.
Okay, I was saying there's probably another 2 weeks for AREG before AREG can now be taking on these reviews head on and basically allow us to resolve that bottleneck. But other than that, I mean, we have a PR that's pretty much wrapped up for the aggregate signatures. It has like great performance, working very, very well. The core devs asked us for a little bit more, like to round the bone, asking for benchmarks and asking for a few kind of like explanations, like documentation around it. But otherwise, it's looking very good and very close from being merged, and should be able to make its way into the September release. So that would be like a major, I guess, improvement to the set of crypto primitives that are available in Leap that would open the door to some of the very, very interesting cutting edge stuff with zero knowledge proofs and essentially like ZK snarks and that kind of stuff. So that's really exciting to see come to life. So that should be probably into the merge to the code base for the September release. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think towards the end of the month, we'll have more clarity after AREG is able to perform these reviews. But all in all, it's going great, and I think it will be very well worth the wait.
Oh, one question on that. Is there a place, and I know I missed the call this week, which might be the answer to my question, but to see kind of the list of, I guess, protocols, curves, algorithms, or whatever that are being considered or planned to be introduced to support ZK?
So this is essentially the BLS 12381 curve that we're in, and with the aggregate signature schemes, and essentially like this is one of the curves that can be used for various ZK snark schemes, such as the one that are using like growth 16 verifiers that typically were using the, I guess, like Zcash until their more recent ones like the ALO2. But this is like we're looking at this growth 16 kind of scheme There was a TES Rabbit that released a verifier for Growth 16 that was running out of the running on the other curve, like the LBN 1828. We're estimating ours is going to be like almost 10 times faster than EOS Rapids with the new intrinsics that we've built in. So that's quite exciting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Young, when do you think we should start having a discussion, either as a group here or a larger group, in terms of, I guess, how we will name this new, essentially, consensus mechanism?
Very good question. Very good question. I think we should start thinking about this sooner rather than later. And there's a lot of things also to unpack in that upgrade, like what we just discussed. For example, that's kind of a prerequisite for the consensus upgrade, but it's a standalone thing as well. Like there's probably a lot to be said just about this new set of primitives that we're adding, and the BLS aggregate signature scheme that we're now gonna have make available to developers, and what can be built on top of that. So that's its own discussion. That's a very exciting one as well. And but yeah, I'd say as soon as you guys are up for it, I'm always happy to chat about these things.
And for context for the others listening and the others on this call, the idea is that we rebranded EOS.io to Antelope, so we moved forward with that. And there's an opportunity here to essentially move away from DPoS as well, in terms of a branding towards something else that we all feel represents what the consensus mechanism is or can be, slash the input at the very core protocol level that each of us has now contributed to growing. So there's a big marketing opportunity with this, but also kind of an evolving of where we're from, similarly to what we did with Antelope. And I'm sure that, anyways, from my point of view with EOS, we'd like to move away from this idea of DPoS because it has a lot of negative connotation, historic connotation associated to it. And with Instant Finality, it really opens up those doors in a very real way. It's quite tangible.
Exactly. So I think that's a good opportunity. Maybe we can put that on the agenda for one of these Monday calls, and just start discussing this. And it will most likely take quite a bit of time before we reach any sort of consensus there. And it might not be a matter of consensus either. Shane is free to go and take what they want from it and adjust their governance mechanism accordingly, or do whatever marketing push they want. But it would be a good start to, I think, just explain these things a little bit more so that everyone kind of understands what's implied and what is now possible, and then they can choose what way to go about this, and if they want to rebrand, or if they want to not rebrand, but if they want to explain this new consensus mechanism, if they want to take advantage of certain of its features and whatnot. Like there's very big opportunity, I think, in redefining a lot of the narratives that have been somewhat problematic for Antelope chains or EOS chains in the past.
All right, anything else on this? Guillaume, can you say no, just so I know that you didn't cut out?
No, nothing else from my end.
Okay. So Aaron's not here today. For SDK, I can say that he got really close on the most recent milestone, but wanted to go back and refactor a few things on it. So there's a little bit of a delay there, but I think it's for the best, because, Aaron's kind of looking at it and saying, hey, we need to improve this. I think we want to give him, a little bit of time to do that. Antler CDT is a reminder. It's going to be part of this release. It is in the PR review stage, or at least it was a couple days ago when I last got an update on this. So it could actually be further than that, but that's the only update I have on that. Bart, not sure if there's anything you want to add to that, or is that match your most recent information?
Yeah, that matches mine.
Okay, perfect. And then the Ledger app. Looking at this. So there was a pretty good meeting with, we brought Brian Hazard in to ask a little bit more in-depth questions. There are still some open things that the Ledger team is looking into, and they're going to get back to us on that. I do remember in the notes they're looking at the idea of adding the 5th branded app for Antelope, because they've already kind of confirmed some solutions with the 4 chains, but then we brought back the 5th chain to them. So other than that, that project is still in process. I don't know, Ted, if that's pretty succinct or if there's anything additional you'd like to add to that for today's meeting.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. And so that's the end of the board today. Is there anything else that people would like to add?
I do have a question regarding the RAM limitation fixes, discovery and research. I might have missed an update. What's going on there?
Yeah, so the ENF team was going to be writing up the details on that, and that same team is engaged in the release. That is, we're right at the very end of the release process. So once we get the next release out, then this will become a priority item to have engineers work on that document. Does that make sense?
Got it. So timing wise, what are we talking about? A month from now, a quarter from now? When should we expect this to be completed?
I think on that one, I need to defer to one of the ENF executives on the call, because I think it's a little, it's not quite locked down. Are there any comments?
Which item is it, Jeff?
It's for the RAM limitation fixes, and the question is, when can the coalition expect us, meaning ENF, to have time to write that up and get that done?
Oh, yeah,
I think
that's more Bart.
so. I think in about 2 weeks, the same kind of timeline that we gave about RX time, it's like Matt's time also frees up. That's when we'll complete the proposal to begin the research phase. We won't actually have an implementation proposal for you to review as coalition until the completion of that RFP, which we're originally targeting end of May for. I'd still like to hold that target, but given how it's delayed for the EVM project, I'm not really sure that we can hold that date until I circle back with Matt and do all that we're talking.
Cool. So likely Q2, possibly Q3. Thank you.
And just for context, this is basically the first part is to even draft the RFP.
Right. The first deliverable, the first RFP was to do the research to get all the data that we need for Wax, for other coalition chains, internal mock-ups and proof of concepts, to then propose the architectural solution that we want to implement and run it by the coalition, make sure that everyone is bought in with, the depth and breadth of those architectural changes. And then we would go on to an implementation phase, targeting the September release of Antelope as when it would be delivered, to the broader public.
Right. That's understood. This is just a proposal, not a fix. Thank you.
Okay, anything else for today? All right, well, everybody, we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.